All right, yes, we all know it's been well documented that haven't really been happy with the Chargers last couple drafts, and even in this last draft a week or two ago, I was still pretty perplexed about some of the choices that they made and players they went after, and especially the type of positions they did and the way they moved up. They giving away their second and third round picks to go up to the first round to get a guy. And yeah, I just had a whole bunch of questions, so I did a run through of 7 players I would have drafted in each round, not doing the trade that they did because I probably would have gotten 2 better players if I did. But yeah, I'm just going through rounds picked 1 through 7 as if I didn't make the trade. And just to refresh everyone's memory, even though it's only been so long, but the Chargers' first round draft pick, they went with quarterback Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Then they traded back into the first round, later in the first round, to get linebacker Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. Then they didn't make another pick till the 4th round, where they picked a running back Joshua Kelly out of UCLA. Then in the 5th round, they went with a wide receiver / kick returner and Joe Reed from Virginia. And then they also went with Alohi Gilman, a safety from Notre Dame, in the 6th round. Then in the 7th round, they went with a slot wide receiver in KJ Hill from Ohio State, which they were even surprised he was there, which is, I still think is a pretty good pick, but I think I could have gotten a better player a few rounds before. But as far as my choices, let's start off with the first 2 rounds because those were kind of always set in stone. But when the Chargers had an opportunity, once this guy, Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson, who I think is the 2nd or 3rd best player overall draft prospect in this year's, I just didn't know how they couldn't draft him. I mean, a few years ago when they were able to draft Derwin James at number 17, it was a big shock to them because everybody had him ranked in the top 5, and somehow he fell all the way down. So why not have the next generational type of defensive player who's sitting right there for you and you don't pick him? Is very questionable to me, and especially at a position that they needed. And yes, I think I'll finally put up, I've had this picture forever, but it's going by positions of what they needed. So they needed a quarterback, linebacker, a second tight end, an offensive lineman, and an edge defender, edge like a defensive end or defensive tackle. So I got all those except the second tight end, but you could always find those in a trade or during the off season as well. So for one of those first check marks, I did get the linebacker Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson as their first selection at number 6. I just think he's the better overall player, in my opinion, compared to a Justin Herbert, who has so many flaws. Like how I watched this one video where this guy mentioned him as Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where sometimes he looks like the number 1 pick overall, and then other times it's like what were you thinking? Like, there's no reason to throw that ball at all. But yes, that's how I think of Justin Herbert. But in round 2, I went with the quarterback Jalen Hurts, who I've been saying all this time, who was a guy that the Chargers should have taken in the 2nd round, especially that early. And he did end up going in the 2nd round to Philadelphia, but that was later in the 2nd round. That's why it still makes sense for the Chargers to be able to pick him right here. And they're talking about how well he's going to work out for Philadelphia, and he could have worked out just as good for the Chargers if he sat out a year or played here and there for the Chargers along with Tyrod Taylor this year. So those would be my first 2 picks. And then going into the 3rd round, kind of had choices. So for the 3rd round, all these guys were selected after the Chargers pick that they traded to the Patriots. So guys I liked were Josh Jones, the offensive tackle from Houston, Neville Gallimore, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma, Zach Moss, the running back from Utah, Cameron Dantzler, the cornerback from Mississippi State, Matt Pert, the offensive tackle from UConn, and Tanner Muse, the safety from Clemson, who I was even surprised he was selected that high, but that's the Las Vegas Raiders. They just are choosing guys that they like, but I kind of like their philosophy. They're getting guys from well-known schools, but I still think they're choosing the wrong guys at the wrong time. But as far as my selection of all these guys who I picked, drum roll please, I went with the running back, Zach Moss out of Utah. I just think he has an amazing ability. He was one of the top. He's been one of the top running backs in college the past 2 years. Yeah, he does have some injury issues, but I think him being the second to third string running back for the Chargers as of right now, it would be a perfect situation for him. And he's going to a perfect situation in Buffalo where he's going to be second string as well to Devin Singletary most likely. But he can catch the ball as well, and he has the ability to make big plays. I just think he would have been a way better option in the third round, which the Chargers didn't even draft in the third round. But going on to the fourth, so we had a couple of players as well to choose from. So we had guys that liked Troy Pride Jr., the cornerback from Notre Dame. Also had Leki Fatu, the defensive tackle from Utah, one of my favorite players. Then we had Kayvon Wallace, the safety out of Clemson, another favorite player. Then we had James Lynch, the defensive end from Baylor, another one of my favorite players that I ended up seeing. A lot of my favorite players went in the fourth and fifth round to be able to see. And then Troy Dye, the linebacker from Oregon, who I thought was very underrated and definitely deserved to be picked this high. But drum roll please. In the fourth round, I had the Chargers picking Kayvon Wallace, the safety out of Clemson. I just think, once again, according to him and Tanner Muse, comparing those two, I would choose Kayvon Wallace. And to get him in the fourth round is definitely a steal. I believe he went to Philadelphia as well, like Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I just think you need some secondary help for Derwin James if he does get hurt again with his foot, and the fact that Adrian Phillips left in free agency as well. You need a guy up there, and he's been one of the captains for the Clemson defense the past couple years and won a national championship as well and went to another. So I think that's why he's a great choice for the Chargers at number 4. And going on to the fifth round, I had a couple more guys. So I did actually like the wide receiver the Chargers picked, Joe Reed. So I'm keeping him on this list as of right now for my choices. Other choices I would have went with Tyler Johnson, the wide receiver from Minnesota. Colin Johnson, the wide receiver from Texas. Jake Fromm, the quarterback from Georgia. And Bradley Anai, the defensive end from Utah. I only included Jake Fromm in here because he was my second favorite quarterback that I thought the Chargers could do something with to make him a project and be able to get him out there. I think he's a way better football player up there in his brain, but physically he doesn't have the stuff. But they said the same thing about Tom Brady as well. So I just think he's going to a weird situation where he's going to be a backup to an already top talented guy in Josh Allen, who's going to be the quarterback for the Bills' foreseeable future. So I don't know, maybe keep an eye on him as a backup, see how he does. And yeah, I would have done a whole different draft of getting different players if I would have selected a quarterback here. But yeah, I just want to give him a shout out real quick. But drum roll please for the fifth round. My choice for the Chargers would have been the wide receiver Tyler Johnson from Minnesota. I think obviously the player that he played with, Rashad Bateman, who's going to be a top wide receiver selected in the first round in next year's draft, was really awesome this year. But Tyler Johnson was definitely the main glue, and the older player who's also playing in the slot as well. So I get the Chargers the slot receiver they wanted, that they ended up getting in the 7th round, but I get in the 5th round and a better player. And obviously Tampa Bay liked him so much that they wanted him to team up with Tom Brady. So he obviously has a lot of ability to be able to play with a guy like that. And you know, they obviously saw something great in him, which is what I see. So I'm pretty sure he's going to have a great career in the slot, especially playing down there in Tampa Bay. But he also would have been great for the Chargers as well at that pick. So that is my 5th round choice for the Chargers. Going on to the 6, had a few less selections, but I didn't mind the safety pick from Notre Dame, Alohi Gilman. So I have him still on this list right here. But I also did put in the wide receiver James Prochet out of SMU. I really liked a lot. Evan Weaver, the linebacker from Cal, I really liked a lot as well. And then kind of a sleeper pick that came out of nowhere doing my second research again was Simon Stepaniak, an offensive tackle from Indiana. So drum roll for the sixth round selection for the Chargers, in my opinion, should have been Simon Stepaniak. So yeah, I did a little bit more research on him after I saw his evaluation on ESPN and everything like that, and he seems like a really solid tackle for Indiana when he played there. He did play more right tackle, it looked like, but as of right now, the Chargers are even looking to do with what they have in-house right now. So like a Forrest Lamp, Trey Pipkins, even a Sam Tevy, guys like that to try out at left tackle. And why not try out a guy who's as talented as this guy is? So I would have selected him this late, and I would have knocked off one of those lists, but I'll get back to that list later for what the Chargers needed before the draft started. So yes, that was my 6th round selection for the Chargers. Going on to the 7th, we had a lot more guys who I really liked, but definitely guys who would have been either second string most likely, or definitely going to be special teams players. But I did not mind that wide receiver pick, KJ Hill, for the Chargers. I thought he was pretty good. Then also a guy I saw was Eno Benjamin, the running back from Arizona State. Then I saw Kenny Willekes, the defensive end from Michigan State, who somehow I forgot to put in my other stuff before the draft, but I did like him a lot while he was in college. Then James Smith-Williams, the defensive end from North Carolina State. And then Casey Toohill, the defensive end from Stanford, who looked pretty promising as well. Then Clay Johnson, the linebacker from Baylor, who had some injuries during his time in college, but was very productive with numerous tackles. Then Chris Williamson, the cornerback from Minnesota, who I found again on my second round of research with ESPN. He's a very solid player, and he's going to the Giants, but I thought he could be a good overall pick for the Chargers if they were to get him in the 7th round. But drum roll please for the final pick in the 2020 NFL draft for the Chargers. In my opinion, I would have chosen Kenny Willekes, the defensive end from Michigan State. Definitely has a high motor. Guys I like were like James Lynch before, and even guys like Mason Crosby last year, who I really liked a lot from Eastern Michigan, who the Raiders ended up picking up, was a guy they picked late in the draft and was eventually starting and being really productive for them. So that was a guy I liked that the Chargers didn't get. So I want to get similar type of player who can play defensive end, outside linebacker, even defensive tackle if he needed to, and still just get after the quarterback, do whatever he could for his team and on the defense. And I think he would have been a really good pick, especially very solid pick right here in the 7th round. So those were my 7 selections for the Chargers. Yes, I would have went Isaiah Simmons because he would have landed straight with us in the 1st round. Then Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, in the 2nd round. Then the running back Zach Moss in the 3rd round. 4th round, I would have went Kayvon Wallace, the safety. 5th round, would have went wide receiver with Tyler Johnson. 6th round, I would have went with Simon Stepaniak. And then also with the 7th round, I would have went with Kenny Willekes. So according to that, the draft needs for the Chargers that they sent out before the draft, I would have gotten 4 out of the 5. So I got the quarterback, the linebacker, the defensive end or edge player, and an offensive tackle. I just didn't get the tight end, but like I said, you can find those in free agency or undrafted guys as well. So thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Yes, this is definitely who I would have picked if the Chargers would have let me. Most of these guys were available that I did like for the Chargers to pick at their spots. They just didn't. And yes, these are definitely way better value picks in my opinion. But we'll see how this goes, who's more correct in the future, and pretty sure it's going to be me. But that's just how it is for the Chargers.